Because it's one thing to say, I want to be Spider-Man, I want to be Miles Morales. What's to you is important that comes after that or simultaneously while doing that?
I think first step is embracing, the I am. Because I didn't say I want to be Spider-Man, I said I am Miles Morales.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Beamer, and I can't wait to dive into this episode with Atlanta native and multi-talented actor Shameik Moore. If you don't recognize the name, you definitely know the voice. Since 2018, he's been our neighborhood Spider-Man, Miles Morales, in the Oscar-winning animated film Spiderman, Into the Spiderverse. When I heard that voice, it felt familiar. That's because Shameik has been a part of some truly impactful projects over the past decade. Now, I first noticed him as Malcolm in Dope, as a kid who walked to the beat of his own drum. Malcolm, a cool nerd from Inglewood, he wanted to go to Harvard and played in a punk band in a place dominated by hip-hop and hustling. Interestingly, his next roles in The Get Down and Wu-Tang and American Saga had him fully immersed in hip-hop. I'm excited for us to explore which characters he related to more and what he learned from them. With new projects like another Spider-Man movie and an all-star bowling comedy and a RZA Helm drama, Shameik is definitely branching out, and I'm eager to hear all about his journey and what's next. Now, this is Bars and Nuggets on Amazon Music. Let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? You guys, look, come on now.
Yes.
Can we do this again? Yes. We got Shameik in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Much better, man. How you doing?
Man, blessed to be alive.
Look at him, coming in all fresh. I feel like you just came straight from Paris.
Might as well, it's been like a week.
Yeah. How was it, man? It looked like you were in an element where you just had it.
Oh yeah, it's nice to be on the field.
Any designers out there, and maybe not even out there, just in general, that you're feeling right now that you're like, yo, I gotta be in it.
Specifically, Gurm, he and I he was like, Spiderman. I was like, yeah. But he's the designer, creative director at Venmont right now. So I was like, okay, I actually have a lot of your clothes.
You mentioned, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And, what was so interesting about that was there's a story about you had manifested that, right? Like you're a believer in that. How important has manifesting been, and where did they even come from?
Believer in manifestation?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Where did it come from?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been manifested. It started with I don't know how lyrical I can be, but it starts here, right? And then we all make it. It's one, or maybe we get twins and stuff, but we get here.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, that's manifest. That's already like how do we get here? So we, we grew in a mother's womb. We got here. That's a thought. It'd be nice to be intended, but even if it wasn't intended, it's like that's manifestation of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a flower bloom out of the ground, you plant that seed and it grows out. Manifestation, to say you want to do something, or you are something, or you will be accomplishing a certain goal, and then doing it, no matter how small it is. I'm going to run a mile this morning, from point A to point Z is manifestation.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish this test. Now, how grand the goal is, how big the vision is, it's up to you, I'm going to play this basketball game. I'm going to win this basketball game. I'm going to make $100,000 this month, I'm going to start $1 billion company. It's up to you, like how big you want to swing. You know?
What's most important about what comes after that?
After manifestation?
Yeah. Because it's one thing to say, I want to run a mile, or I want to start $1 million business, or I want to be Spider-Man, I want to be Miles Morales. What's to you is important that comes after that, or simultaneously while doing that?
I think first step is embracing, the I am. Because I didn't say I want to be Spider-Man, I said I am Miles Morales. So that's number one. Who you claim to be is one thing, but actually believe in it. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to embrace it and believe it. You have faith in it. The faith part is a big part of it. Now it manifests, and where do you go from there? I feel like with great power does come great responsibility, and I don't think
Y'all caught it.
I don't think you get these responsibilities or power without being able to handle it. Now, some people fumble, you know, but
isn't that part of life though?
And it isn't. That's exactly like one person fumbling was for the person that's coming after that person, you know, and maybe it wasn't really a fumble. It's a part of like the learning process for not just one, but for all.
One of the things I wanted to go back to was you had mentioned, you know, you dropped the Spider-Man, the famous line, great power comes great responsibility line on us. Do you, as you took in this role, as you are, right? You said, I am Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Do you feel like that came with a sense of responsibility in the sense that you are a Black Spider-Man?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, right? A sense of responsibility, for sure. Like when you're talking to, for me, when you meet a young woman and you like actually like this one, you know, like, oh shoot, she's actually nurturing and like exactly what I need. I might not be looking for her right now, but here she is. Like, is it a responsibility to take care or nurture that? You know, it depends on if I decide to, how far I want to go with it, you know, if I'm ready for it. As far as Spider-Man goes and my career goes, yes, I'm choosing to go forward and commit to being the best version of myself for the present, for the future, and for history, you know? So absolutely, there comes some responsibility, but it's not like it's taking me out of anything I'm asking for. Or like prepared to, you know, any responsibility that comes with it is like already being prayed about acquiring. You know what I'm saying? I haven't gotten anything I didn't want yet.
Yeah. It's interesting because that, you know, that role and some of the other roles you've taken as well, there's quite a lot of purpose and intent in that project. Are those the type of projects that you tend to like resonate with the most? Is that what you try to find, or do you feel like these things naturally come to you because that's the energy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think what's in the stars is in the stars for me. I think one project led to the next every time. The director reached out because they saw dope, or the producer reached out because they saw, you know, the Get Down. You know, it's like one thing kind of led to the next. So I'm blessed for that. But I'm my manifestation, my affirmations are pretty wide encompassing, you know? And so right now I'm just like throwing the net over there, getting all the fish I can, and like, you know, getting it on the boat, throwing it back out there and doing it again, you know? That's kind of how I'm cooking over here.
Tell me about you coming up, right? Because you came up in Atlanta. What was it like for you growing up in Atlanta? What was that environment like? How does it shape the person that we're getting to know today?
Atlanta by way of Jamaica. So I was raised by pure Jamaicans. And though I was raised in Atlanta, the person cooking for me, the person driving me everywhere, the person putting me in bed, the person I'm with until my parents gets home, like everybody's Jamaican. Jamaican food when I wake up, you know, Jamaican music on the way to school and back, you know, a Jamaican comedy, Jamaican, like, you know, energy. What the bomba clock? You know what I'm saying? All that. You know, the energy left, right, up, down, center, like it's all. And then I kind of met, like my mom put me in all boys military school after getting into some my cousin, the men in my family are a little bit more rambunctious.
So your cousin was running around doing some stuff and you got in the mix?
Well, he was running around getting his respect, and you know, I'm just the little cousin that got caught up in like some you know, just some normal kids, boys stuff.
Just some normal.
You know.
How old were you when this was going on?
I have to be like 6, 7.
Okay, so you were...
Yeah. And all I remember is just being in front of a crowd of kids. I'm getting, dude, touched up. And I just remember just throwing one hook to the body, just boom. You know, yeah.
Should have seen the other guy.
You should have seen the other guy. No, yeah. After that, my mom was like, military school.
Yeah. You made her nervous.
My cousin didn't even go to, I was like, what the heck? That preventative work. And then I was in the Young Marines.
Oh,
She put me in a Christian school. So it was very like, my mom and dad weren't strict, but the environment she put me in were.
Yeah.
So, and my dad was traveling a lot, playing like reggae music and stuff. And, like I said, my cousin was doing his thing and I was gravitating to him. Like all the dudes I ended up gravitating to always, it was the more like,
the more masculine, the more like, tough guy, like bravado.
Naturally, I'm just like, running around them, so. And even in the military school setting, it was more like, I mean, they're like that too, but they're more like, give me 10 push-ups. You can do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't like getting yelled at. I just knew. And I mean, that's really the upbringing. And then eventually I got into, my dad showed me this movie, You Got Served. And so I went to the movies with my pants on my belly button, like, sir, yes, sir. And then I left with my pants sagging.
At your knees.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dancing and whatnot, like, feeling like I found out
something that connected to you beyond this discipline.
Authentically.
Yeah.
You
just, well, talk to me about your dad, right? So your dad, you said he was into music. What was his background, or is his background?
Yeah, he's a guitar player. He played in like Israel Vibrations, the list of them. He's a well-respected guitar player in the Rastafarian, traditional reggae scene. And he's traveling the world doing his don't music,
Yeah.
That's my dad. And he came home. I was like, you've been playing devil music. He didn't like that.
Oh.
That was the Christian school talking to me.
Oh.
And that's when he took me to see
You Got Served.
And he didn't like that at all, because Rastafarian music, I mean, reggae music is about love and the world and humanity.
Peace.
So
and
that wasn't registering to me, based on what was being told to me in the Christian school. Any music that's not Christian music, devil music. So I was just like, you play devil music. He just didn't like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, it sent me down this whole other path. Found myself in performing arts school. Got kicked out of acting class.
How you get out of acting class?
That's a good question. I wish I could remember.
Wait, how do you get kicked out of acting class?
I was told I would never be an actor, and I was like, walked up out of there. They sent me to, they knew I wanted to do hip hop dancing and whatnot because of the movie, so they put me in ballet. I was hot. I was hot, but in there I met someone that ended up being a really good friend of mine. Her name is Tamara. She had a flyer of this thing called the Dance Invasion. Every last Friday of the month, the dancers and the crews and all that, they come together at Club Atrium to battle it out.
Huh.
This sounds just like
so
You Got Served.
I was about to say, so this is like real life You Got Served
in Atlanta. Okay, bet. I'm pulling up. I'm like, you're going? Like, you go to this club every last Friday? She's like, yeah. I was like, and she danced in the crew with her mom. I was like, oh. So I asked my dad, because he was the the cool one, whatever. He took me, man. Casting directors for like Soulja Boy and all of the Atlanta rappers.
Hilson.
Yeah, all that. Casting directors were there. Dance instructors, choreographers. The scene was there.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that when I was thinking about dance
Being a
battles.
kid, you were literally like, I just want to dance.
Yeah, I had no idea who these people were, That's like everybody in this room being able to possibly bring a job to me at 12. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who you guys are.
But isn't that pretty good, though? Like, that you're in space and you don't know who these folks
Didn't even care.
Right? You didn't care. It wasn't about, like, I'm trying to make it. It was just, like, literally, I went and saw You Got Served with my dad, and now I'm trying to go do this in real time.
Exactly. Ended up in a performing arts school. Supposed to be a good step in the direction of honing in and being able to meet somebody, some way to find a way inside of this box. How do you get on TV? this is when I'm 12, not now. It's way before there was like anything being shot in Atlanta. So now you got all these Marvel projects in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Walking Dead and all. That's not a thing.
It was just music heavy.
It was music heavy. It was music heavy. Right. So music videos.
Babyface and Jermaine Dupri and Dungeon Family, all this stuff happening.
Yeah. And there's no way to get in contact with them dudes from where I'm from. You know, Decatur, which ended up being Lithonia, which is East Atlanta, which, you know, it's Panola Road, for real. Like Gucci Mane territory.
East Atlanta, Santa.
For real. So eventually I actually didn't get accepted to go to the next grade at that school.
Well, you must have been cutting up over there.
So I went to Lithonia Middle from there.
Was that also performing? No. So this was completely out of this environment that you kind of wanted to be in.
Yeah, and this is the first time I was really interacting with like just normal kids, like in a school environment, because I was in the Christian school, the all boys military school, the Young Marines, now DESA. So now I'm like, was that 7th grade, 8th grade? Now I'm interacting like with the kids that live around me, that I only saw if we were playing basketball or something. Right. But now I'm going to school with all, you know, now I'm seeing these girls. I'm like, oh, where's everybody coming from? You know, we on the school bus. This is my first real interaction in this way, with like different views, and so everybody from different backgrounds. Where y'all get it with public school.
Yeah,
there's so many different things that like started shaping. I mean, there's stories at that point. You know, my cousin, if you couldn't read between the lines, was definitely, you know, he's doing his gang activities and whatnot. And so, I was just in my mind, like, as I'm starting to meet like Bloods in school, we in 7th, 8th grade, Crips and stuff, and the same. You got kids getting stabbed, you know, from other schools coming here. This after school fights.
Middle school.
Yeah. There's like, I mean, we all been to middle school or high school or whatever. It's not, this can't be the only one. There's somebody at home watching this, but you know, metal detectors. This is the first school I went to where like you have to walk through the metal detector to get in, which wasn't. It was just like it set a standard in my mind. Like there must be some different kids in this
right.
school.
You're like, what am I walking into?
Yeah. So I think it naturally put a little bit of a like, I wouldn't say fear, but like I'm like, you know, on my P's and Q's type shit. Like,
the anxiety level is probably a little higher.
Higher for sure.
Yeah.
From there, like I found myself getting close to kids that's breaking into houses, and like getting close to kids that's like, you know, scamming the Wells Fargo up the street.
Oh my goodness.
You know, mind you, we're not even in 10th grade yet.
Yeah.
But so I'm actually
you caught up in some
kicking
things.
it, like talking, like, you know, I'm actually hanging out with these kids, and then I find out. Well, y'all are for real about hitting the lick.
Yeah, they for real about like getting into some stuff.
You know, hearing Future and Young Thug and all, way before they're famous. Pee Wee Longway and all, I mean,
oh wow,
way before they was like where they are today.
So how did that impact you as the kid that's like, you know, connecting in the world of like Soulja Boy and Keri Hilson and like trying to go on this different path?
So when the kids was, you know, after, you know, when they talking like that, and I'm like, the one that's dancing in the hall, hey yo, dance, and I'm like, shit. You know, at the pep rallies and whatnot, like, and I was the cool kid because of that. You had different layers of cool or whatever, but I was good. So I no longer had that anxiety. It was just like, you know, like, no, you got to go kiss your girlfriend, you know, downstairs. And, you know, I was like nervous and whatever. I was like behind all the other kids because I was so like sheltered.
Right.
But we're riding the school bus and I'm like, everybody just saw me on a Cartoon Network commercial. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, no, I seen you in the Birdwalk video. Oh, crank that. Yeah. That's why they wanted me to dance, because they were seeing me on television.
So you were actually like basically famous in
my school
while you're coming up. You're part of the context. At what point did you go from that to also being a part of like Tyler Perry?
I think Tyler Perry came after I started like I think I was 3 or 4 music videos in. I did the commercial on Cartoon Network, and that's when the House of Pain opportunity came. Because at that time, I had met, I don't know if y'all know Soraya. She was like I grew up with her. We met in Lithonia Middle, and you know, we became best friends and whatnot. That's when I met Chloe and Halle a little bit before this time.
Yeah.
There's so many of us, the Trevor Jacksons, the Zendayas, and whatever. Our paths had all like crossed at this time.
Yeah.
Before like any major role took place. My first job was background dancer for Jacquees, somewhere in Panola in some like small center. All of these pieces, the people I'm meeting and how people are receiving me and whatever, it just led to Jay Purvis was the name of the agency, seeing me through another friend. It was Jacob Lattimore. And boom, went out for my first audition, booked that,
It's so casual.
booked that. I was feeling myself. What? I got $1,000. I'm 13, 14, 15, something right there. I'm like, I got some money in my pocket. They can't talk to me. They can't talk to me. Yeah, man, from there, it just kept going. Like, one job just kept leading to the next. I found an agency that was sending me opportunities now. And, from there, it was BET's Read Between the Lines. And at that time, it's either Tyler Perry or BET. That's it's one of the two if you're working on anything, or music video.
During that particular time in the pocket.
Yeah.
What are you learning in these early roles? What do you feel like you're developing from a skill set as an actor?
Well, Tyler Perry, I think the first thing I learned was not to be acting. He picked me up. He was like, so basically, there was a kid named, his name was Doc Shaw. He was on Disney Channel. He was also on the House of Pain show, whatever, with China and McLean. So, I'm walking up there, I'm doing it. I'm all like, it's my first show. I'm feeling like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We get up there, and the scene reads that he's supposed to pick my character up, Doc Shaw, pick my character up and slam him on the table. So he picks me up, and, it's like cute. It's like kids acting, right? So Tyler Perry said, cut. He walks on the stage. He was like, you can't do it like that. You have to pick him up. He picks me up and slam him, and he slams me on the table. And I just remember it being, like, it's not like he hurt me, but I just remember being like, he picked me up off my feet for real and slammed me on the table. And my mom stood up, so the first thing I did was look to my mom, and she stood up literally immediately. Just like, she didn't say anything, but she stood up like, and did he just slam my son?
Yeah. Don't be touching my son.
And in that moment, I was like, yeah, don't act. In that moment, like, what he said was, don't act it out, like, picks you up and, like, don't do that. Like, do it as it's written, because that's what's going to sell. That's, and it hit. That's the first time I think it registered to me in the way that I execute what I do now.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me. I mean, I've never been an actor. I've never been in that space. Is that, how do you describe that? Is that what people tell us is like method acting? Like what is
Yeah,
is
it
that?
probably is. It gets summarized to method acting essentially.
He's like, it's not that simple, but
It's not. I feel like, I mean, everybody probably has their own tactic or way to go about it, but it probably just falls under method acting.
Yeah. Tell me about, at least from my point of view, when I, learned who you are as an actor and as an artist was through Dope.
Mm-hmm.
And, it sounds like that came from these other opportunities or projects you had been working on. Is vastly different from any role we've seen you in. How did you prepare for that?
For Dope?
Yeah.
Shoot. I mean, it was closer to my personality at the time, I was doing a school tour. I made a mixtape. I was touring all the schools in DeKalb County. So, and we're getting motion, like girls are pulling me off stage. Like I'm thinking I'm the next, like I'm totally wholeheartedly thinking like music is about to, like any day we about to be on some whole other shit. We had a lot of motion in Atlanta, and then and I was auditioning at the same time. When I started, the first 2-3 roles I went for I got, but then it was like 2 or 3 years where it was just brick. I was done with that shit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but I like getting, that's like getting rejected every time you walk up to a different girl, like 100 times. you know what? I give up. But they keep getting rejected. What the heck? You know,
I'm done with this.
I'm done. That was the energy for real. I'm done with this. And then we got the audition for Dope. I remember it was Tupac and it was Dope. And Dope landed and it was like, you know, you gotta fly yourself to LA. It's like I gotta fly myself to LA.
I'm done.
And I was like, all right, you know, and we did it. Yeah, the first in-person audition, the chemistry read, I messed up. And I was in my head about it because I was thinking like, yo, if I go this way, I just feel like I'm gonna get caught there.
You mean like you're just gonna get typecast in this type of role?
I'm gonna be an actor. I'm gonna be this nerd. I'm gonna be like, you know, and get stuck there. Where on this other way, you know, I'm talking sleazy. I'm moving a whole different way. I'm like, you know, the music is a different character, and I just felt like it wasn't the same thing. It's gonna clash, you know, and I had to choose. But being in my head was like hindering me. So I went in there and I just didn't do a good job, and I almost missed that opportunity. But the director, Rick, was like, listen, you already sent in an amazing audition, like, you know, so I know you can do it, but you came in and you
take the pressure off,
you know, like he was like, come back tomorrow and it's going to be you and me. We're going to do this. And I did it with him, you know, and I said, my mom, everybody was annoyed with me. I was in my head about it because I don't know how I messed that up.
Is that common what Rick did?
No.
What would usually happen?
I mean, next time, they had other options that would make the movie seemingly more successful, you know, more popular, and, you know, they can get extra funding if they had this person. I'm the kid in Atlanta that worked a guest appearance on Tyler Perry. You know what I'm saying? It was claim to fame and some music videos and a school tour.
Yeah.
You know, so, and Rick was just like a Nigerian brother. He just, you know, he knew what he wanted, thank goodness. And he was the only person that wanted me to play that role. So that whole production experience was like challenging because I'm going to work every day for a life-changing opportunity, but no one wants me to be there except the director. You know? And so automatically I just remember him saying, you focused and worried about everybody else but me. You need to be worried about me. I took the chance on you. So when you come here, you focus on me. I was like, oof, it hit me.
It hit you different.
It hit me differently. It was like, yo, well, how are you thinking about everybody else that did it? Like, what? No, you know who wanted you here. Okay, did I complain to you? Then it don't mean nothing. It's me and you here. He talking to me like I'm his son. It's like, you know, I felt that he was like, when you get here, you're number one on the call sheet. You know what I'm saying? You set the tone. Everybody else got a bad mood, whatever. You come in here smiling. You come in here knowing your lines. You come in here ready. It's like, yeesh. Back in military school. And then, you know, we tapped in, we locked in, and we did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
the relationship with Rick, right? Like, clearly that's something different than the relationship that you've had or, you know, would have with other people, what other actors would have in that scenario. When you think about now, right, how do you keep a lot of what you learn on the set of Dope and working with Rick when you go into these other environments?
So the very next project was The Get Down. And I swear, like, after Dope, leading a project, you got A$AP Rocky, you got Zoe Kravitz, you got Quincy. By way of Quincy, you got Diddy, and you know what I'm saying? You have Pharrell, you know what I mean? You have all these names involved, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just showing up. Me and Flacco, you know, that's when A$AP Yams was, you know, he was coming to, you know, hey, yo, A$AP Shaw, wake up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm literally just moving and learning from these guys while filming because we're building chemistry and whatnot. And then, like, okay, I booked the Get Down. And I moved to New York, and now I'm around Flacco, and he's letting me, like, be with him. And I'm really meeting the A$AP mob, and I'm seeing, like, they're totally different. Everything about these dudes are different than people I grew up with.
What do you mean?
Y'all know what I mean.
We don't know what you mean. You got to let me know. He said you gotta peep.
From military school settings, everything I just told you, to like, you know, just very, very gifted with all of this. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily, well, Atlanta was like, how do I get out? Like, I am a dancer, I am a singer, you know what I mean? I am an actor. New York was like, yeah, like, where your swag at, young nigga? You know what I mean? Like, it was like that, you know what I mean? None of that, you okay, everybody, okay, cool. So, go talk to Shorty, like, I want to see it, you know what I mean? It was like that, like, grab your balls, you know? And, like, yeah, like, you know, shift in frequency at that point.
Yeah.
Identity of self, like, inner self at that point, like, oh, like, none of that matters here. It's really about everything that's unspoken, you know? So essentially what Rick said about being number one, I was number 3 on the Get Down. And as I'm learning my character, I'm basically around the ASAP mob, you know what I mean? Like, I'm first 2 months, 3 months of my, like, getting in character, learning a Brooklyn accent or a New York accent, the New York energy. Like, for one, like Tyler Perry showed me, can't fake it. So, like, thankfully I had brothers around that wasn't gonna let me be around them unless I wasn't faking it. You know what I'm saying? And, so I had to learn, but then it was like, maybe not even learn, just adjust and digest and, you know, sit within it, you know. So when I go to set, all the things that I applied to Malcolm and Dope, I applied to Shaolin Fantastic and the Get Them. It didn't matter if I was number one, because I'm still number one. In my mind, like I said, excuse me for saying it like that. My mindset, like, I had to, even at that time, it would, I didn't care about being digestible or what nobody else had. I don't care what Justice, my boy, and he'll tell you, I don't care what he had to say. I don't care what my girl, Mylene, Horizon, I don't care. Nobody got to say to me about nothing. This is my shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I walked, I talked, I did everything like that, you know? And I'm like that on every set. You know, I think as I get older, you know, I learn how to play with others, you know? But at the time, especially me having to be authentic with that energy, because it wasn't, I had to learn it within myself. The military school cut that off. You know what I'm saying? All that discipline.
It didn't allow you to be naturally, authentically expressive, creative.
In these directions. That was cut off. You know, as my cousin was, you know, listening to Project Pat and, like, you know, GD and etc. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, my mom cut all that off. So as I re-entered that energy, I guess kind of in a safer way, less authentically dangerous and more like for art, you know, it allowed my spirit to explore the space, you know, authentically. Like, I could look you in your eye and say some ill shit I would never say to you, you know, but now I can say it because I'm allowing myself to know what it feels like to say it and mean it, you know. And so, yeah, that is a self journey. Actually, it's less method acting and more therapy. You know, for real, it's like knowledge of self, because I'm not acting. I can't go up there and pretend to be a New Yorker. You'll never believe me. You know what I'm saying? You'll never believe me if I'm pretending to play Raekwon. You know, you'll never believe me. You know, what I took from the set of Dope, a long-winded way to say all this, is just like, you know, you go there, you set the tone. You know what I mean? If it's your scene, it's your scene. You know what I mean? You lead this, A through Z. This is your shit. You know, everybody will pick up your cues. You set the ceiling, you know what I'm saying? Everybody gonna try to figure out how to get there. You know, if there's somebody that's testing your ceiling, you gotta eat. Eat his food. Eat his food. That's it. You know? Yeah.
I love now. I'm like, I want to be on set. I want to know what this energy is like. It's never been described in that way, but I can kind of guess and understand what you're sharing is that you have to be at an authentic place with it. You can. If you don't, then you're not able to be it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you're acting, and then it's just like cute.
and you can feel it.
I don't like cute shit.
Man, I appreciate you being so honest and transparent. We got a dope audience here that would love to be able to ask you some questions.
Yes.
So if it's cool with you, we're going to pivot over here and give these folks a chance to get to know you a little more.
Word, sounds good.
Hello, my name is Maurice Griffin. Shameik, none less superb artwork, man. You're incredible. Got a question for you. Okay, superheroes, here we go. Create your own superhero and name 3 superhero powers that you would want this hero to be in. And don't let it be an answer you already given.
Ooh.
All right, the superhero's the character's name is Shameik Moore, number 1. This is an exercise I do often. I'm like Spiderman or Batman, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like by day it's one thing, but like, where'd he go? Where's Shameik, you know? I'm out there like helping people in the community, you know what I'm saying? I think somehow telepathy got to be involved if I got some powers, like a way to like hear, interpret, seed, you know what I mean? Like the telepathy element of it all, the mind-bending powers is definitely got to be involved. I would say electricity because growing up it was all about Static Shock for me, but also I play Miles Morales. So electricity, you know, boom. I might look her in the eyes and see, you know, that electricity. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good power.
Yeah. And thirdly, I would say, like, I mean, it's probably some sort of strength, like some crazy strength, like on some Thanos. Like, I whooped the Hulk's ass. You know what I mean? Some sort of like strength in there, some electricity, and some mind-bending opportunities. But even if all that was taken away, I wanted to be able to really tap into the community, and my real superpower in real life that I'm building as me is really that. You know, to use the influence, say that's the mind-bending thing. Oh, he did you know, use the influence, draw him in, create generational impact. The kickback, the give back will live thousands of years past me. You know, they say be like Jesus, that's how I intend to do it. And, you know, and not take credit for it until I'm gone. I said it. It's on camera.
It's on camera. Thank you for your question. Talk to me about Miles Morales. Do you see yourself in that character?
Yeah, different part of myself. He's more like, Miles is more like in the heart. Miles and Malcolm is damn near the same person. You know? By the way, I got Miles Morales because of my performance in Dope.
What did they see?
The heart, you know. Miles is the version of me that I was explaining that went to that dance battle for the first time. Didn't even know if I could really like dance all the way. Didn't care about all these people that was here. Oh shoot, it just kind of led me over here and having to go to these music videos and like speak to Soulja Boy. Like you gotta, you know, you gotta give me one take. I've been here for like 4 hours. And they looking at me like, what's up, little man? You know, nah. Like, you got the cameras out. I want one take. Play the song. I've been dancing all day. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make your video. I'm talking to him like this. So you got him and his boys with sunglasses and all that, you know, cool kids, whoop. I'm like, I want to see what he got. You know, he gave me a chance. Yeah. Ate him up. Was in the video, right? Just like I said, you know? And that is Miles. I'm going to take that lead. I was scared. I'm going to jump off this building, though. You know? It's like, oh, shoot. Like, are you Peter? Like, that Miles is I mean, it's the same. It's like a kid. It's like, he's a little more free in certain ways mentally. He's not so jaded, you know. He didn't get his heart broken yet. You know, he's still learning what believing in himself is. He loves himself. He loves his family. He wants the best for himself. But believing in yourself is different than loving yourself.
Tell me about when you were working on the project, working on Spider-Man. When a colleague of yours, Jarrell Jerome, he said he didn't know anything about that he was coming to do the movie. He just had a script.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just like, he had to play within those confines. Did you know, fully aware, like the full context of what you were getting involved in?
Yeah.
Yeah. he said it was different for me.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most since being Spider-Man?
What surprised me the most, that, you know, it had this impact on culture like this, you know. I knew it'd be good, and I mean, I wrote that it'd be great, you know, and I feel like anything I put my mind to is going to be like better than my last thing. You know, I think one of the biggest surprises is just like how many adults and different walks of life gravitate to Miles in the story. You know, we're in Europe, we're in Liverpool, and like they're coming out for Miles' story. It's, to me, it's like, psh, it's crazy, you know.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, you know, like I said, maybe I'm a little jaded, but I had to see different ethnicities and cultures come out and cry when they see me because of my voice. I had to literally witness it to believe that would happen. You know. Now, a black mother or father or a Hispanic mother or father, you know, easier to interpret, but or to envision that, but you know, the range, the level of, I mean, I've really learned about humanity, and it furthered the connection between all of us. The impact of the film is the most surprising part. Not just that it did numbers and stuff, like it's a Spider-Man.
But people were genuinely moved by it, right? Like from like you said, right? People from different backgrounds, people from different ages, right? People that, you know, even myself I work with, like, you know, or Trevor, who's off camera right now. His kids, they love Spider-Man. You know, in particular you as Spider-Man. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah, and even saying that to me, it's like it still somehow doesn't really connect the same way it did when I walked on that stage the other day, the Kids' Choice Awards. People, it'd be lines. I'll be at a Comic-Con for 8 hours signing autographs straight. Didn't even take a lunch, right? Okay. Somehow it's still not connecting to me that it's like, no, these kids love you. Like the parents like, come on, bro, I'm the voice of this character. You don't, like, you know, this person knows me because of Wu-Tang. This person knows me because of The Get Down. This person's seen Dope. You're not going to tell me that they love me for Spider-Verse. It's hard for me to believe that, you know? But when I walked up on that stage the other day, I felt like maybe 40% knew who I was and maybe 60% was like, who is this guy? And then they start hearing my voice and I feel them like grab it, like, wait a second. And then when I say the lines, everyone keeps telling me how my story's supposed to go. It's like, hold on, that's him. And then it's like, it might just be my voice, but, you know, on the flip side, let's think about that for a second. You know, the voice of a generation. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not, you know, I'm a little dirt coming for me, but, you know. But for real,
You're
like,
funny.
kids definitely love Miles Morales, and I might have underestimated the power of my voice, my literal, just the voice.
Yeah.
You know, for the voice to, I mean, it's the movie, right? It's the direction, it's the writing, it's the animation, but to be involved with it and to give my spirit to Miles, you know, it seemed like it worked. And for it to work is, I mean, like I saw it firsthand. I've been seeing it firsthand since it came out, but it was different the other night. You know, it was different.
Now, it sounds like the other night was the first night where it felt maybe like transformational inside for you, where the other side of it felt like you can obviously observe how it was impacting other people, but it seemed like that was the first time where you were like, oh no, me in all of my human form is connected to this.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was more like the animation, you loved the movie, I get that, you know, boom. Because I don't have any relationship to any voice actor in the past. Like, I love the X-Men show growing up. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Couldn't tell you.
you know what I mean? Like all of the shows I watched, it just, you know, I love these shows, but I just couldn't tell you about the voice actor. You know, so someone telling me anything different about, you know,
like,
I just
"Get
feel
outta
like
here."
you see me in person, so you're saying this to me, but you know, and it's still, like I said, it felt like that, but when it was the first moment, I feel like it went from, you know, Miles Morales to Miles Morales is Shameik Moore. You know, and it's been that the whole time.
Yeah, but
not knowing me, and then everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. The scream, and then them saying the last line with me. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. Together,
yeah.
unprompted. Y'all didn't even know it was me. You know what I'm saying? That's different.
Yeah.
That's different.
It just shows you how much people really, really connect with something you're able to be a part of and give voice to.
At least the
Right.
kids.
At least the kids. How did you connect with RZA? Did he find you through that work or through some other work? Like,
OG found me through, he saw the Get Down, and that's what got him, you know, and he reached out. Like I said, he had a project for me. The first project we did was super last minute. Like we met in the summer, talked about it, but I had some other opportunities on the table. I didn't really hear from him. So we had shot some other things, and then that pilot didn't get caught. I was doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And now I'm in Atlanta, and, you know, I forgot what I was about to do, and then I got a call. It's like, yeah, they want to shoot the movie Cutthroat City next week. Next week? Yeah, next week. And immediately I'm thinking about the accent. What the New Orleans accent? You can't do that in a week. Because remember, the Get Down, I had 2-3 months to lock in with Rocky and ASAP Mob, and I'm getting in character.
Right.
So I'm thinking like, yo, I need to sound like NBA Youngboy. Immediately I'm thinking like, I gotta be cold with this shit. And you know, the accent just, you know, and so that was our first go. You know, he was getting his feet wet, doing his directing thing. It's not his first film, but you know, we did our thing. It was a great cast. It was, you know, it was just like, it was like, let's work with RZA. You know what I mean? And we did our first one. We dropped it. I will always feel like, damn, if I could have just did a great New Orleans accent, we probably could have had a classic through that movie. But it's a little stain on my performance execution, in my opinion. But there's people that love the movie, and that's only specific to my mind and whatnot. Like OG, I know that movie will always hold a special place in my heart because that's how me and OG connected. But from there, because we locked in, I remember I came back out to LA. I met some of the Wu-Tang. At the time, I didn't even know who they were. You know what I'm saying? And OG was just like, yo, which one of these dudes you want to play in a TV show? I was like, oh man, I gotta go do my research on it. And I saw it. He took a second, and then he was just like, all right, come back to me, you know, because he realized that, you know, I didn't know.
There's a generational difference.
It was a generational difference, and I told you about my upbringing and whatnot. You know, it skipped Wu-Tang, went to Fat Man Scoop, and all the You Got Served hip hop was the entryway, right? And then I kind of had to do research from there, whatever. So okay, cool. Now I'm listening to Wu-Tang, and I'm tapping in and all that. And then my boy was like, nah, you gotta play ODB. I'm like, okay, well shit, I'm gonna tell him I want to play ODB then. ODB out here. And I saw him again like a week or two later. I was like, yo, yeah, it was his son's birthday. We went to some club or whatever. He was like, yo, you thought about who you want to play? I was like, yeah, I want to be ODB. He was like, nah. He was like, nah, I got you, don't worry about it. So I was like, I think maybe he was thinking I was going to say him, you know, but I didn't want to ask to play him because it felt like it would be too close, too easy, too something. Like, it's my man, you know, it's my OG. So playing him just felt like meta somehow. It's just too, I needed some stretch. You know what I'm saying? I needed to be something else. So anyway, he didn't tell me I was playing Raekwon. The characters were initially, it was really going to be a mini series, just 6 episodes, and the characters were initially like based off of real life people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Raekwon, it was Sha Raider. You know, it wasn't Ghostface, it was whatever the name was for his character. You know, same thing with RZA's. Everybody's character, it was like a different name. Then like somehow it got to, you know, we're gonna make it the real thing. And it was a full season.
Right.
Then it was like a 2-season thing. Then it was a 3-season thing. That's how that experience went. So after Wu-Tang, I mean, that just further solidified like the range. Malcolm and Dope, and then Raekwon and Wu-Tang. Like I've gotten it so many times, and people didn't even realize it's the same person playing the characters. So that's the type of like, that's what I love about Tom Hardy. You know, he's one of my favorite actors. And then Tom Hardy, when you look at him in Peaky Blinders or you look at him in anything else, it's so different. You know, and it's believable. It's all the same things I like and strive for within myself.
Right.
And so for OG, he was like, nah, like, you're a sponge. Like, let's keep going. So we just did our 3rd one.
Wow.
1 Spoon of Chocolate.
You got a lot coming up, right? 1 Spoon of Chocolate. You got the movie The Gutter coming.
Right.
There's more Wu-Tang coming.
Right.
More Spider-Man. Any interests outside of the acting world?
Yeah. I've been making music this whole time. I just haven't really dropped anything because the music industry is a little trickier for me. I'm meeting people and artists that I respect, and I'm showing my work, and they're acknowledging it, but it's like, but you still need to da-da-da-da-da. You're meeting A&Rs and, you know, like the players in the music space, and it's like always something that's not connecting, that's stopping me from putting it out because of something else. But then like in the car, we can have a good night, and there's some girls in the car or whatever, everybody's vibing. You know, so and then I wanted to do music videos, like that was on the level of the movies, like properly, like I don't even want to play fair. I want to like annihilate the game, like when I come through with the music. And you know, in order to do that, I just felt like I needed these different layers in place in order to be consistent, in order to have the quality match the film and television quality. And so somehow it's been, you know, mind you, remember, I was touring doing music before
right.
I booked Dope. You know what I'm saying? And I had a project I was proud of then, you know, and when Dope happened, just like I thought, you know, the acting shit, it's like, you just really, I don't know how many people told me you just leave the music shit alone because, you know what I'm saying, the film is like, you obviously there. And
do you feel like it's something that, just even for yourself, like you can't not pursue it because other people are telling you, nah, just stay in the acting space?
Oh man, I mean, I wish that your opinion mattered enough to stop me from doing anything I decide I want to do while I'm alive. But unfortunately, that's not the cloth that I'm made from. And yeah. You know, I think everybody's but it has delayed me because proving myself right has stopped me from having fun via the music, just putting things out, you know, because I'm not just on a TV show or in a movie, you know, I'm like Shaolin Fantastic in The Get Down. Like, people don't know my name, but they know that character. I'm Miles Morales in Spiderverse. They don't know my name, but they know that character.
Yeah.
Same thing in Dope, Wu-Tang. People aren't walking up to me on the street. I'm not going to say people aren't. There are some people that walk up to me on the street, but most people address me by my character name, you know? And you got different people at different age ranges. You got 3 different generations, really, coming to the same location, addressing me differently.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like addressing me as Shameik has to come from music and fashion. you know, and so I just really wanted to be on the level that Netflix uses my spirit to execute the Get Down, or the way Sony uses my spirit to execute Miles Morales, or, you know, Malcolm Adekambi, or the way Hulu uses it to execute Raekwon. You know, Shameik has have to have the team and the execution to deliver it on the level, because it's the same. It's literally, if somebody made a movie and I got to play the singer that could dance the way I could dance and is fat, then people would be addressing me as Shameik Moore if that character was Shameik Moore.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just that's how it calculates in my mind. You know, I can reach these people. I just need to do it on the level, and that's been slowing down the process. So that's more so what it is versus what
Other people's opinions.
other people's
thoughts.
opinions or thoughts
Right.
are. It's like, oh, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you being so honest and transparent about the journey.
Hi, I'm Isabella Joy. Your voice alone is so powerful. It's an absolute blessing to be in this room and feel your energy. You have such a confidence to you, and that's been so evident over this time being here. Do you have a moment of doubt that you can recall that you were like, I don't know if I can do this? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I've been experiencing doubt a lot more lately than I ever have, like, in memory, which is interesting because I'm like further in my career than I've ever been at the moment. Why am I doubting myself now is a good question. You know, I've actually made my circle a lot smaller. That was already small, but I started like seeing, like, it's the certain things, because you got to be grounded. I like people. My family's Jamaican. They're always going to, my mom and grandma are making fun of this very necklace I have on.
They always gonna remind you.
Like, you know, it's you know, the point is I started looking externally, like, where is the source coming from? And then, even after that, the remnants of it is like, you got to be the director of your own life. You know, what you wake up and experience, the life that you live for the 100 years or less or more that you have is solely up to you, you know, and everybody's dealt cards. Everyone is dealt cards, some worse than others, but you got a life, you know what I'm saying, and you got to live it. And the last time I experienced doubt might have been like, you know, a couple days ago, but, you know, nothing is long-lived. There's no doubt that's long-lived in my spirit. It's like I keep facing myself in these ways. Like, it's more like I have a list of things on my to-do list. I'm looking to create balance, right? So if you have, and I do 3 therapy sessions a week, by the way, to manage all of these pieces that I was talking about, for my emotions and how I deal with things. And it comes back to what you're saying. But at one point, it was like, I don't think I have a really good personal life. I'm so stuck in like building an empire that when it comes to like spending time with someone that I value, that I feel is a quality like I want to wake up next to, like, wake up, you're the first person I see, like, you know, I don't think I put enough energy into that. I think I'm so like, I might like somebody and then like, well, I'm doing something. I might not be able to provide what it is that you need from me, and I end up losing that. But I'm gaining something else that is of value. I'm building an empire. As a young man, that feels like, after God and faith and family and all that, that's number one, you know? And my therapist kind of broke it down to me where it's like, it's not about you having like number one, and that's, you have to find balance in number one. It's about, you create a list. For somebody it might be 10, for somebody it might be 5, for somebody it might be 20. You create a list. This is what you need for balance, okay? So you can't go to number 8, and it's not that number 8 is less valuable than number 1. Any piece of this not being there means that you're not balanced. So you need for me, let's just say it's 10, because that's what we was talking about in my session, you know? So number 1 would be what it is, and I have to address that. Let's just say it's getting fit, getting worked, because I'm getting ready for my next role. I've been traveling, I've been eating, and I have not been working out. You know what I'm saying? So for me, the moment, a doubt, I know I'm about to eat this roll, but at the same time, one of the first steps about eating it isn't just like my inner, you know, it's my outer, you know? So I know I got to wake up and do 3 workouts a day at this point. And I have the regimen like with my coach, and I'm putting all the things in place for me to be able to wake up, put in the work, and be on time to deliver my role. So if that's number one, which it might not even be, but if that's number one, that has to be attacked before I'm thinking about number 5. You know, it's like number 5 needs to be there, because when I'm tired and I'm done, you know what I'm saying, I might want to look over and say, how you doing? and you know, and feel good about who I'm saying it to.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think that's where the doubt comes in. It's like questioning myself if I'm doing everything at the level that I know I'm supposed to be on, or that I'm capable of being on. I'll end it with this. Will Smith said something. He said the distance between having a B and an A is a different distance than having a C to a B. The point is that it's that hard work, you know, is something different. If I was really applying myself at full capacity, we probably couldn't even be in the same conversation based on resume. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but we are in the same conversation based on what's happening socially, you know, or how this person is showing up, you know. And so, yeah, there's some little tidbits of, you know, of am I operating at the elite level, or do I just have the mind of an elite person, and that's not doing what he's supposed to do at full capacity? And so, yeah, that's my transparency.
Thank you so much for your question. Thank all of you for your questions. Y'all make some noise before I get. Thank you for putting it on the couch, bro. Yes, thank you. Y'all learned a lot.
All right, guys. Hey, yes, nice to meet you. Yes. God bless.
This is my first time sitting on this side.
Yeah.
This couch is not anywhere near as comfortable as it looks. Also, these cameras are big as shit. Like when they're in your face, no wonder people be getting nervous coming on the show. First of all, I mean, it was a great interview, man. Kudos to you.
I love when he just started taking the pauses and he was just like really like thinking and going in, especially the last question she asked him about the doubts. And he was like, actually right now. And he was like, I've just been in my own head, or like taking in outside thoughts and stuff like that. I was like, wow, it's real honest.
I mean, the therapy 3 times a day thing, man, I think he was kind of bringing it up throughout, but it was just kind of interesting to hear how he's used that to kind of center himself. And the need to center himself at such a young age with this level of success, man, I think is really commendable.
I guess it shows the difference of when maybe other actors were coming up, like maybe 10 years prior, and it was not a thing to be in therapy, and it hasn't worked out well for a lot of folks. So, I mean, shout out to him with all of the success and the attention that's on him, to be also thinking about like himself mentally.
And other people. I think the way that he was kind of like acknowledging and offering himself up, like in that moment of like, he was talking about going to Kids' Choice Awards, and he's got a clear separation between himself and his characters, but to be as generous to your fandom around like, hey, I recognize the fact that you're gonna see me and you're gonna see that character, and I'm gonna still show up for you in that way. I think it's like really dope, again, especially at such a young age with this level of success.
I mean, he literally could just not at all.
Like, don't bother me, kid. That's a character I play, you know, and he doesn't got that energy about him. Also, I appreciate you, man. The shout out for my kids, man. My kids watching at home. Dude, dollar signs, man. This is the closest I'm gonna get for an autograph for y'all, so y'all better watch this episode forever and ever, because Miles Morales actually talked about y'all a little bit today.
Look at that. Nah, I thought that was dope. When I was thinking about it as he was sharing, I was like, wait, like I actually just literally had this conversation with you. So I had to bring that in. Also,
I feel like we didn't spend enough time on the reality of that Tyler Perry body slam.
The one where his mom got up.
Could you imagine being on set, Tyler Perry being like, no, do it like this, and picking you up and slamming you through something?
Because how tall, like Tyler Perry's a big dude. Like he's like 6'4".
Too big. Too big to be throwing around kids and getting away with it.
We need to see the behind the scenes clip of that.
Go check the footage, man.
Yeah. But this was a good one.
He said he got some stuff in the tuck, man. So we're gonna see if we can get him back.
I mean,
man.
apparently he sounded like he got a dance movie in the tuck.
I can learn some moves.
I'm observing. What you got?
I got a good robot.
You got a good robot?
Yeah.
Show us.
Show
us the arm. At least the arm.
No. You know, the way my knees are set up these days, I gotta get up out of here. See, you might have to help me up. Come on,
Go.
Woo. All right. Till next episode.
Cue up some Dre.